Mrs. Marisa Matias.
Obrigada, Presidente.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you, Commissioner. Well, I'm going to change subject a little bit. And I was going to ask about your competences and responsibilities within the European Commission. You're involved in anti-money laundering. You're also involved in gender equality. Now, according to the UN Agency for Drugs and Crime, it's shown that there are very close links between money laundering and women's rights, particularly in case of money laundering of funds that have come from human trafficking. And in 70% of cases, human trafficking affects women. There's currently a report underway about gender equality and tax policy. So, Commissioner, do you really cover both of these areas of competence? I also wanted to ask, is the gender dimension included in your work on anti-money laundering? I mean, if it's not part of your proposals, then I'd like to know why.
I will be absolutely open with you. I have not seen any correlation and any connection or any, how to say, line between the money laundering and gender issue. But if you have some data or some surveys which show that women are those who more often fall victims of money laundering or the consequences of financial crime, of course, I will be happy to get it. Of course, that women are victims of crime. They are more often those who are affected by poverty and by financial crime of smaller scope, but I don't see any correlation. So maybe if you can add something to your question, I will be happy to hear about that.
Yes,
I'm not
one for a follow-up.
Yes, I'm not one finding the correlation. It's the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime and also the Financial Task Force who find the correlation between gender equality and anti-laundering process. So because of the profits which have to do with the crimes, namely trafficking of human beings. So what I'm saying is that there are these studies which make a clear correlation between those things, and nevertheless the proposals of the Commission never take into account the connection between gender inequality and anti-money laundering. That was the thing that I was to mention, is that why doesn't the Commission make the same link and try to provide some measures in that fight? Well, yes, that's the connection between the money laundering and human trafficking. So this is another kind of criminality which the Commission addresses very strongly in everything we do in fighting against crime. So I don't see any specific way of addressing only some criminal offences. These are, as you say, interconnected matters, and they are all addressed in the same way or in a relevant way by Europol, by Eurojust, and by our policies in criminal justice sphere. Okay, I still have time. Okay, you don't see any connection, but in any case you are responsible for both, and it seems strange to me that you don't see the connection. But I want to ask you another thing which has nothing to do with this one. It is in PANA committee, as you know, we have seen that actual administrative practices, journalist and whistleblower protection, and political independence of competent authorities are key elements that should be considered in an assessment of the quality of anti-money laundering practices in the country. And nevertheless, we were not able to adopt these at the trialogues. So what is the Commission position regarding these elements being considered in a high-risk third country assessment? I'm referring to the administrative practices, journalists and whistleblower protection, and the political independence of competent authorities to be taken as a key element to consider high-risk third country assessment.
First of all, I said that I don't have any data showing the correlation between the money laundering and gender equality or inequality.
I'm not talking about it
Speaking
anymore.
about human trafficking, of course. These are interconnected things. We have the evidence that in many cases this is done by the same gangs, by the vast operating across the borders in the EU organized crime group. So also it was one of the reasons why I so strongly supported the idea of European Public Prosecutor's Office to deal with cross-border VAT crime, because this is also connected with money laundering and the other related crimes. On the protection of whistleblowers and the journalists, we are now focusing on European Union in the directive on protection of whistleblowers. I think we also do a useful thing for the world of journalism, because by increasing the protection of whistleblowers, we are enabling them or helping them to be more or less cautious and with full confidence go to the journalist and report, and the protection will be extended to the whistleblowers as such. On the high-risk third countries, I would have to look into the methodology, but that is covered this topic, but I don't think it is there.